We're coming in.
We're doing a thing.
Are we?
We're not live yet.
Nope.
Now we're live.
Hey, everybody. We're up and running.
Hello. Are we sure we up and running?
Not sure.
I'm not
Quite
100% sure we're up and running yet.
That's our ability of doing things on the internet. Clearly, we do not have the grasp on all of the things social media and technologies.
The technologies.
Just the general technologies.
So according to the YouTube, we are up and running. So do the thing.
Okay.
Awesome. So welcome everybody to Blue Peg, Pink Peg Figures Out the Internet. We had initially talked about doing a Google Hangout on our podcast, but guess what? Google Hangout does not do that.
There's no such thing as Google Hangout anymore.
No,
technology.
There is Google Hangout. You just can't stream and share and let other people watch your conversation. So then we had to do a crash course in figuring out how to make this happen. So if it crashes mid-go, it's Rob's fault.
That's a true statement.
But we just wanted to thank everybody for coming on. I'm Christina.
I'm Rob.
Yeah, I didn't finish.
Oh, did you have more?
And this is Jeremy.
Oh my gosh, we just talked over all of us.
It's like a regular episode of Blue Peg, Pink Peg.
That's right. Getting a head start on the behind the scenes.
Yeah. So far, if you are watching us, please go ahead and let us know you're here in the chat log. We've got the chat log up and running, so we're going to be able to respond to your questions. And I think we wanted to kick this off by saying Happy Veterans Day.
Happy Veterans Day.
Thank you, everybody, for your service. If you are an active military member or if you have a veteran in your family who has served in the past, thank you very much. I come from a military family, so today means a lot to me, as I know we have a lot of listeners who are veterans or previous active military members.
Yep.
So the other thing I wanted to share about, if you've been up to date on our recent episodes, most of you know that I've mentioned stackup.org. It is an organization that sends out supply crates to active deployed military soldiers overseas and stateside. And I reached out to them, and I also reached out to our good friend Stephen Bonacore and Indie Game Studios and Stronghold Games, and we have created and partnered together to make this project that has activated, it has initiated. What Stephen Bonacore has done is he sent a shipment of about 80 games over to stackup.org that are going to be placed in the supply crates that get shipped out to deployed military soldiers. So that is super exciting.
That is cool. And they, I don't know if you mentioned it, they sent pictures. So hopefully we'll be able to send some pictures out soon.
We got some pictures of the supply crates and the shipments that were sent out. So once all of that is we get more pictures in, we'll do a big blast about that. But if you are interested in what stackup.org does, go to their website and read up on them. The other cool thing they do is they send soldiers to conventions, mostly video game conventions like PAX conventions, but they're starting to dip their toes into the board game tabletop gaming arena, which I think is pretty cool. So much appreciation for what stackup.org is doing, and also to Stronghold Games and Indie Game Studios for collaborating with us to make this happen.
Yep. Thank you to all involved. As Christina said, again, I just want to say thank you to Patreon. Without you guys, we couldn't really do this stuff, especially with some new mics and, being able to go to certain conventions and stuff like that, and prize support. Thank you guys for Patreon. So we filtered out some questions. So for this tonight, we wanted to answer questions that you guys might have had. If you have some questions while we do this, please put them in the chat. There's a bit of a delay. We'll get to them eventually, or say hi. But if you've got some questions, put them in there. We'll get to them. But one of the questions we got, Christina, you put it on our Patreon page, I think.
Yes, I put a poll out.
I put a poll out, right. And a lot of the things people wanted to hear about is the behind the scenes, also shenanigans. I'm not sure what that in detail shenanigans, but buckle up, something might happen, who knows. But let's talk about the behind the scenes. Now, as you guys might know, Patrick left the show.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
You're not gonna say
okay,
it.
I'm not gonna
anymore.
say it anymore. But
He is alive and doing fine.
Yeah.
I played games with him on
well,
Friday.
he,
He is happier than he's ever
he
been.
is. He comes. I mean, as of right now, he does still come to our normal Blue Peg Pink Peg gaming night. What?
It looked like you were closing me off of the conversation.
I'm sorry, I wasn't. I don't do that kind of thing. So he normally comes to the Blue Peg Pink Peg gaming night. So you'll see him in pictures and stuff of that nature. Dave Turner said, "Rest in peace." I did not say it.
I see that.
So he's still around. But the funny thing about Patrick is when he comes to these Blue Peg Pink Peg gaming nights, one of the things that he says is he's like, "Oh, I get to play whatever I want to play now. It's so great." And then he lists all the things that he gets to play. Like, I do this for me now. This is great. It's great. And I'm not jealous at all.
Yeah.
I think you might be a little jealous.
Might be.
But it's great that he's doing well.
Yeah.
He's pulling things together.
Yeah, I think some of the people that we see, some of our listeners that we see on a more normal basis were, kind of worried about Patrick leaving the show. And I would like to just let everybody know he is very well and he's happy and he didn't leave on bad terms. Like, when you love something so much and you just get to the point where you want to do something else, you just walk away and you do something else. And I think we all supported his decision to do that. However, with him gone, we have had to learn a lot of things.
Sure. Patrick, as you might or might not know, did a lot of stuff behind scenes. For example, a lot of the technical things. That would be the editing, the getting the show out. He did a lot of things that we didn't know he did.
Well, we knew he did them. We just didn't know how he did them.
What was involved.
Right. And he did the best that he could to kind of teach us. And so we had to break up between the three of us all the things that he did. He apparently, I don't see how he had time to do anything. No wonder he was like, I got to get out of this, because he did a lot. So also I want to say hey to Restoration Games, who just stopped by. I'm looking forward to playing Dark Tower very soon. So
jealous.
That's happening at PAX Unplugged, I think. Hopefully, I think we're setting that thing up with David, my boyfriend. No, so as the last couple episodes, as you probably have noticed, have kind of had a couple hiccups.
Especially
just a little.
A few, depending on what podcast platform you use to download all of audio things to your devices. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I would say, so we learned a little bit that putting out a podcast is like a precarious house of cards, and we decided, and then I implemented we're just going to switch out the bottom cards, or we're just going to take some of these cards away, and without really understanding what was going to happen. So we've had quite a few panicked Mondays on episode drop days, where we've discovered just exactly what has transpired when we changed a link, or what I've learned about RSS feeds and podcast syndication.
You have a PhD in it now.
I know. There's a crash course. I think I might start a podcast.
That's funny. One of the most scariest things is that 6:00 when the episode's going to drop, it doesn't drop. And then when it finally drops, the very first thing we hear is like, guys, I've got an episode from a year ago. And you're like, okay, I've got a full-time job I have to go to, and now I got to figure out what happened.
Yeah. I think if anyone could access the thread, our chat thread between Jeremy, Rob, and myself, and also
it wouldn't be on iTunes because it would have one of those warnings.
Correlate that with like your blood pressure level. Some days, I think all three of us are just like, I'm just gonna go bury myself in a hole today because I don't know what's happening to our show.
So to give you a sense, here's a little bit of the behind the scenes here. So for a lot of you guys use Podcast Addict and a couple of these other apps that when you were downloading last week's episode, you heard the audio for Abomination, the previous episode. So we determined why that happens, and that's some podcasts say when you put in the blog post that feeds all this, it just says whatever the last audio file linked must be the one you mean. Some podcasts go, or apps go, whatever the first audio file linked is what you mean. So a lot of you, iTunes and so forth, were seeing the right audio or hearing the right audio, and several of you were hearing the wrong audio.
Well, the behind the scenes of that might be really, really boring.
Right. So, but what happened is we were troubleshooting because I was going, there's no link to the last audio. So Rob and I this past Monday, for example, were spending all day discovering as we were.
I was working, Jeremy. I was working all 8 hours of that day.
That's right. But we were in our heads.
Yeah.
As we were working our real jobs with our fingers, in our heads we were working podcast. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It doesn't. Keep going.
So as we were troubleshooting this, finding new problems, as it turned out that what had happened is there was a single letter, the letter D, for whatever reason was linked to last week's audio in a particular link on the page. It took 4 or 5 hours for me to figure out that the single letter D had broken the audio for however many people were using these particular these apps. So if that gives you a sense of the kinds of troubleshooting that we had no idea Patrick went through, that we are learning, that was the most frustrating letter of the alphabet that day.
I will say that the feedback, though, from listeners letting us know when things are not correct is extremely helpful, because otherwise we would just think that everything's hunky-dory.
Now, you guys might have just noticed something. Jeremy can't see us, but Christina did a thing that we do, talk about behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah.
As we're recording, one of the problems that we have, mostly me, is that we over-talk each other. So one of the things that we do while we're recording is that we will put up one finger. So the person who knows who's talking will like, all right, after I shut up, that person's going to jump in. Christina just put up a finger just to let me know that she's getting ready to talk. Now, Jeremy can't see you.
I know.
Christina. Also, quick before we get into it, KY Mike just insulted Bullet Bourbon. It is one of the better bourbons that are out there. That's Bullet Bourbon, not a sponsor of Blue Peg, Pink Peg.
He said that because there was a question of what we were all drinking. So,
sure.
Rob, you were drinking.
Yes, I'm drinking a nice bourbon this evening.
Jeremy, what are you drinking?
I am having cheap brandy.
And what are you drinking out of?
This is some little tumbler. So immediately before the broadcasting of this, I had 2 of these.
Uh-oh.
And the decanter that I have the brandy in has like this giant nut for a lid.
Uh-huh.
And I unscrewed it and dropped it, and it fell on the partner for this tumbler and shattered it like within moments of our broadcast. So I'm down to a single tumbler that was a gift from Tara.
Christina, before we get to your drink, superfan Tim Vernig wants to know the name of the cat that is making the appearance in the background at Jeremy's place. Hopefully it's Jeremy's place because we don't own a cat.
That would be Dust Bunny, who now lives in the game room library floor. Yes. So you will probably see her jump up in my lap at some point.
Best.
She's the game room cat.
She's the best, kind of. Christina,
no, like she's the best kind of cat that if you don't own cats, and you go to someone's house, you can cuddle it.
Yeah, didn't she pee on Jeremy's stuff while we were there? Okay, not the best cat.
True.
Christina, what are you drinking? And what are you drinking out of?
I am having a vodka cranberry, and I am drinking out of my custom-made Pink Peg tumbler that our good friend Bernard made us, and I love it. I'm sad I only have one because I have to wash it a lot.
Sure, and I am drinking out of the Blue Peg, Pink Peg, the Brawling Brothers highball glass. We don't have the highball glass, but I just grabbed one at random. It just happened to be the Brawling Brothers, so shout out to them. Good for you guys. Okay, so let's talk about the behind the scenes of how do we get an episode out? What's it look like behind the scenes? Okay, so now we've just dropped an episode on Monday. What happens next? The first thing that we do is we try to have the game that we're going to review several episodes out.
Oh yeah.
we'll have a conversation about like, hey, do we have any review titles in? Is there something that maybe we purchased ourselves and we really, really want to get out there? So we had that conversation. And we kind of argue and arm wrestle, and I usually lose because I have weak T-Rex arms. But once we kind of pick that game, the first thing that we do is, okay, she's giving the finger again, but she doesn't. Just do it. They already know it exists.
I wish I could see you guys.
Right. I'll tell you. There's a finger. There's a finger, Christina.
Well, I think what is safe to say too is that sometimes we don't agree on what games we want to review in the show, and so
Right.
A lot of times we'll try to let each of us pick a game and kind of cycle it through that way. Sometimes we think about a game that maybe is newer but hasn't been given a lot of exposure to yet.
We try.
Sometimes we pick games that Secret Cabal, Brawling Brothers, and Rolling Dice and Taking Names also all drop on the same week.
By complete accident.
By accident,
right.
Which is probably, good because they have different opinions than we
Yeah.
do. And then sometimes we like to pick games that maybe haven't had conversation or discussion in a long, long time, but is a really good game. So I think that's interesting for some people to know. Like, we don't just automatically, whatever shows up on our door, that's not the game that we pick right away. We really kind of try to be critical thinkers about what we want to put out there.
Yeah. So once we establish a game that we want to play, we want to try to get as many plays of it as we can so we don't sound like idiots. One of the things that we definitely do...
I don't know how much that helps.
Yeah.
But I'm with you.
One of the things that we always do every episode is that we at least one, usually multiple times, but at least one time all sit down together and play the game together, which is where you see a lot of the gameplay photos from. And it used to be at Patrick's house, then it used to be at my house, and then since Jeremy has this awesome gaming room with all these incredible game toppers, we decided to transition there.
Well, yeah, I think
Christina has a finger up, Jeremy.
Okay, use your finger, Christina.
I will. So that's the other thing is that I think, like, how does that work? What are the logistics behind recording and gameplay? So because we both have families and we both have kids, we are always very cognizant of balancing life and the podcast. And I think that's very important to both of our entities. I just heard a cat.
This reminds me of the
It's
Stephanie
definitely-
Straw episode.
I know. The moment she was meowing, before you said that was immediately, I said, Rob's going to talk about Stephanie Straw and her cat.
Yep.
So we decided to make things more balanced. We decided to outfit our basement with our recording studio. And then Jeremy decided to build an entire addition onto his house just for a game room, which seems a little crazy.
You're welcome, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, Patreon.
No. None of the Patreon money went for your game room. Let's not say that.
No.
And then, so now we record at our house.
Yep.
And then on the alternate weeks, we play games at Jeremy's house. So that way it doesn't feel like we're being pulled either to someone else's home every time or that we're taken away from our family. So I think that is good for people to know that we're really being aware of our significant others and the effects that the show has on our families and our kids.
Joe Pilkus, one of our listeners, said for some reason he couldn't get into the chat, but he says hi. I love Joe Pilkus. He's that guy. I talked about him multiple times in the podcast, but he's that guy. Whenever you see him at a convention or whatever, he's got a smile on his face. He's super welcoming, except for the one time. He's the one that I played Secret Hitler with, that he was just... I didn't see him frown for 2 seconds, and I feel like I broke the world. It did not make me feel good. Hey to Stephen Seitz, who just visited us.
Yeah,
Hey, hi, Stephen.
Yeah.
It was good to lose Age of Steam to you.
Stephen is a Hokie alumni.
Yep.
Go Tech.
Blacksburg, Virginia.
So when he travels down 81 to go catch the Virginia Tech Hokies play football, he stops for Roanoke, which is nice.
Yep. And he did just come by. Christina and I had family in town, so we couldn't able to hang out with him this time. But he hung out with Patrick, not going to say it, and Jeremy and Josh down at Blade Gaming. So
we had Josh in on a raucous game of Fleet, the dice game, and then Stephen and his brother taught us the new Age of Steam. And then I think I was not able to stay because I had an work event the next day, but Patrick hung around to do Reavers, I believe, although I can't see the chat, so
Yep.
Stephen may be
If
disagreeing
he
with
does,
me
I'll
as
let you
I'm
know.
saying this, but yeah, I might have just told a whole bunch of lies, but at least that's what I was told.
Yeah, I wanted to.
when
I wanted to play it. That's one game I'm hoping that we can get a future review of because I played it one game of it and really like it. So I think that it would be a good review, but it just depends on if we can get it into the schedule.
Right.
Let's see what else. So once we play the game multiple times, one of the things that Christina and I like to do. Also, I haven't said hello yet, but to Steve O'Rourke, the name father. If you listen to the Dukes of Dice, he frequently names their episodes, and Dave Turner. Why did we never said hello to Dave Turner? Yeah, so what will happen is Christina and I, for every episode, if the game plays 2 players, we really want to try to play it 2 players so that we can kind of report back to you. Because, for me, I like to know, especially before I started doing a podcast, when I listen to other content creators, yeah, they played it at 4 players, but how does it play at 2 player? Because if you're like me, you play a lot with your significant other, and it's important for me to know how it goes. So we try to do the same thing to at least be able to kind of report it back to you guys.
Mm-hmm. So with that, after we play our game a bunch of times, and obviously I think playing games a lot takes up time. And so we not only play our featured game, but we also play a bunch of other stuff. And I don't know if people know this, but tabletop gaming is an investment in time.
Right.
I make this joke a lot that the podcast is kind of my second full-time job. First world problems, but it really is. Like it's
Right.
From especially here lately with all the technical stuff that we're learning and getting PhDs on. On top of just the technical aspect of getting the podcast out, there's playing, and then I spend a good 3-4 hours doing show notes. Right. Recently, Christina's been doing the trivia, so you kind of know it's not like we're just.
That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of extra work. I don't even know if people like the trivia, but we're doing a contest, so we're going to do it until the end of that. But it's something that we've actually done. The trivia is something we've done since episode 10.
Wow.
Believe it or not. Patrick, I think he said episode 9. I did it by accident. But in episode 10 is the time that I remembered doing it. Because like episode 10, that's Pearl Jam's CD. One of my top 5 favorite CDs ever. And so then it came from that. I wish I had
done 148 trivia. Well, 145. Christina's. That's a lot of trivia.
It is a lot of trivia. I also don't remember where Pegheads came from. Like, I don't remember how that started. It just happened. And then the first time I did it, I think Patrick laughed. And if you know anything about me, and my daughter already knows this pretty early in life, if I say something that I think is funny and I get a laugh, I just keep going, right? Like, I just keep, like, hitting it. So I got one laugh one time after episode 10 when I said Pegheads, and then I've done it ever since. So I'm going to milk the puppy until it gets bad.
Well, I just want to say a big thank you to you for doing the trivia, because the last 2 that I've done, I've lost hours of my life in like Wikipedia and like these black holes of the internet, just following threads into threads into threads. And like you're going to be doing it for the next episode, and you worked on it today, and you were like done in an hour.
Well, an hour for about 5 lines of content for an episode. But yeah, it's one of those things that I'll start because I don't want to be like obvious how the trivia connects to the episode. And then sometimes I know that we're going to be talking about a thing. Like there's several different ways that I kind of tie it in. But I get in rabbit holes myself. Like I'll start like I want to definitely do it about this, and then I follow this thread, and next thing I know, it's like 5 hours. Everyone's asleep, and I'm like, what happened? I haven't written anything down. So doing the trivia is always an adventure.
I think Jeremy should do it next time.
Well, not the next time because I've already done it for the one we're getting ready to record.
Yeah, I do owe you guys a trivia, and I think it'll be interesting to see how our content and styles play out, because Christina definitely approached hers in an interesting way. So I want to take a shot at it. I'm not quite ready yet, though.
Is there anything else behind the scenes that we haven't talked about yet?
I think people would, and we've had this request before, now that Rob has taken over. So what we ended up doing once we realized how much work Patrick actually did for the show behind the scenes is we all agreed that that we needed to all carry the weight evenly and understand how everything is done, so that if any of us get hit by a bus, we could carry on the show
Right.
with knowing
Yeah,
how to make it
as a
work.
transit advocate, I have to strongly
If someone got ran
lobby
over by a
against
bike,
getting hit by a bus. Let's say if one of us wins the lottery and leaves.
if I win the lottery, I'm going to
bus
do this full
drivers are
time
actually
for
very
reals.
safe. Really?
Sure.
This is it. Okay.
So we've been, sharing the load of the behind the scenes work, which I think is the smart way to go. And so Rob's been doing a lot of the editing for the show, and what a lot of people have been asking for is a after dark or a blooper reel of everything that gets left in the recording studio.
I don't know how to do that. Like, I mean, I know how to make the blooper reel, but it's inappropriate, right? And so if I put that on our normal stream, I'm going to have to put up like adults only, and I don't know that like someone who is just downloading us like for giggles, and we get this a lot. I was listening to the episode with my kids in the back seat,
Sure.
so like I can't do that. I figure at one point, Blue Peg, Pink Peg won't exist anymore. I know it's sad to say, guys, but it might not happen. That episode after we leave.
Where's Christina going?
There was a bus involved. No, it's that last episode might be just one of those. All right, guys, we're gone. Now let's burn it down kind of episodes where we just put in all the bloopers and just say we're out. Maybe I don't know, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. No, we're in it for the duration.
That's your way of making sure you're never tempted to come back, right?
Yeah. Once you release all of those things out into the world, it's like you can't come back after that. I don't know. I think maybe if we don't do a whole, maybe we be selective on the bloopers that we release, and it's like a little mini 10-minute episode of us just being silly.
It's usually fart noises and screams. That's it. And by the way, if I ever start,
Jeremy's fingers up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeremy's fingers up.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I was thinking, because one of the things that I will actually go back and listen to every once in a while is our 100th episode, where the various sections where Patrick strung together a bunch of, whatever, us making noises, or where some catchphrase started.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not quite bloopers per se, but it is kind of interesting to listen to something and have those little bits get to revisit them.
Yeah.
So maybe we can pull something together like that. That's G-rated, but still.
I think in episode 100, we did do an episode where it was like, because a lot of people go, well, where did this come from? Like, why do you guys always make a big deal out of, there's a standard box size for, like, where did these things come from? And they've come from someone being just a kind of an idiot in the middle of an episode.
Someone.
It's usually Jeremy. I mean, I didn't want to say that, Jeremy, but like,
whoop whoop!
Whoop whoop Team Droop. I didn't even say it. You know what, Steve O'Rourke sent a nice email saying, hey, because Jeremy, you were recently on Board Game Gumbo. And he's like, hey, maybe it's time to retire the Whoop Whoop Team Droop. And I appreciate him being an advocate for you, but little does he know, you have embraced it. And I know that.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Who brought up Whoop Whoop Team Droop and this and this and this?
Embrace. That was a cynical deployment of Whoop Whoop. Embracing is a strong word. I may have resigned myself.
It was a beautiful thing.
If it makes you happy.
And you weren't there the very first mashup meetup at Origins. When the whole room erupted into a Whoop Whoop Team Droop, that might have made your heart aflutter.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Well, I wasn't there, so I don't know.
Whoop,
whoop.
I don't know. Yeah. Oh, okay. Did I just make your case for you?
Yeah, you did.
You jerk.
So, Jeremy, what do you think is important for our listeners to know about some of our behind-the-scenes things?
Well, I mean, I guess I'd say, in terms of things that we're doing and we're learning, one of the reasons we keep breaking stuff is that we are trying to improve things, and as we're making changes, we're learning the interconnectedness of some of the technology, how our website interacts with the Dice Tower and iTunes, but it all comes from a place of trying to make things better and fixing things. So as we get feedback and ideas, those are all things that we're trying to incorporate, particularly with the website and the way that we push content out. So feedback is very much appreciated, and we appreciate everyone's patience as we're kind of working through these. One of the projects I'm working on is the website. That's kind of the backbone, even though not a lot of people necessarily use it as a place where the podcast is stored and pushed out. That's a backbone of it. So we're trying to make some improvements there, and we're always looking for feedback. But one of the things I guess I'd say, and I hope this is something that comes through in the show, is that we do show notes. We organize things a little bit ahead of time. We generally share, here's what we're playing. We have some ways that we share photographs. But a lot of what you hear is not planned.
Right.
Like, we don't go into it with a script. We may have some idea of, here's a news thing that we want to share, or here's something funny that happened to me. But frankly, one of Rob's catchphrases is "save it for the podcast."
Save it for the podcast.
We'll start to tell a funny story, and we're realizing that there's something there, and so we want to save it so that the reactions you hear are genuine reactions, whether we're laughing at something or making fun of something or whatever. We're trying to make those organic.
Jeremy, I got my finger up. That is one of the things. He's not joking. Like, we'll be in a conversation, because we'll have Jeremy over just to like hang out or have dinner or where we're talking online or whatever, and we'll start to go into a funny story, and I'm like, save it for the podcast, because I really like when we have conversations like that to be as organic as possible. So, like, if you've said it already and then I'm hearing it a second time, my reaction will not be organic.
Yeah.
And that's how I laugh normally. But
like an angry Muppet. So a lot of those things that folks hear, and it means that things don't always work, and sometimes the energy level going into a night can be up or down, and that might affect things. But it does mean that what folks hear, outside of the barest skeleton of how we organize things and when we'll talk about certain bits of content, those interactions that you hear, the jokes that come up, the responses, and frankly, some of the best things that we've ever done have been just a function of the three of us or the four of us sitting down at the same table for a couple of hours and chatting about board games. So if folks wanted to hear the number of hours that we spend outlining our script and joke writing, you are sorely disappointed, because we are not that professional.
No.
But people will say that one of the things they appreciate about us is that we, it's like sitting down at a table with friends, and I think that is what's happening, really.
Yeah.
And it's not for everybody. Not everyone likes that kind of thing, but it is approach it, and I think it's how certainly from my perspective, it is one of the things that makes this a enjoyable experience, is because we're hanging out chatting.
Yeah. Well, and what I love about it is that we're super authentic, right? Like, we are who we are, and we don't try to be someone else. And I got one of the best compliments early on. I don't know, we might have been into it maybe 3 years, 2 years, 3 years, that someone said, like, oh, you are, when they met me at a con, they said, you are like you are on your show. And I was like, yeah, this is who I am. And so I think all of us have that about us, which makes it feel like when people listen to us, they are in the room with us, hanging out with a bunch of their friends. So that's what I love to hang our hat on as a show, is like, we are super genuine and we are super authentic. And like Jeremy said, some people like that, some people don't.
Yeah, some people let us know when there's a certain personality. Maybe that individual is louder than the normal bear. They'll let us know if they don't like it. But one thing about our podcast, I hope, is that we're all bringing a different perspective, a different energy, a different whatever, and that you can relate to one of us in our reviews and our likes or whatever, of that nature. Also, a shout out to Isaac. He's entered the chat.
Uh-oh.
He says, "Everybody be cool. Just be cool. Isaac's here." This guy, he is. I don't know. I've made the joke a lot on the podcast about when Isaac plays board games, but it is legit. The Matrix opens up for him, and he quickly just figures out a game, and I don't know. It's tough playing against Isaac in games.
I think it's his outfit he always wears.
You mean his cephalofair hoodie?
I think it's his hoodie and his glasses that give him his powers.
Oh, you think so?
Board games.
Well, yeah, hopefully we'll be hanging out with him again soon. I think he's going to PAX Unplugged. Oh, speaking of, let's talk about PAX Unplugged.
Yeah, we are going. We will...
Yeah, have fun, guys.
Yeah.
You enjoy yourself.
Jeremy decided he didn't want to go and hang out with all the gamer people. Is that true?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
One of the things I like about PAX Unplugged, it's one of those conventions that we can go hang out with some of our peg heads. And by the way, I threw this up in the chat. Like, we have some incredible the family that is the peg heads, right? Like, outside of our podcast, they get together and they have their own local cons and they go and do stuff, and it's like they send us these pictures of, I don't know, we have a really just great following of people, and they've like become their own thing, like this family. It's really kind of awesome to see.
If you have not linked into our Slack channel, that is a place where a lot of the behind the scenes conversations take place. We have a bunch of different threads in there. So please shoot us an email if you want to be connected into our Slack channel. We try to be as active on that as possible. Sometimes we might go quiet, but the pegheads keep those channels alive in a very healthy way.
Yeah, and they provide a lot of just additional content as well, even over on the Guild on BGG. And this is something that we didn't have any kind of hand in at all. They do like every week.
Plays.
Well, they do someone jumps in and asks questions, and it's like, what are you playing the week of? Blah 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 blah. And that is just, I mean, I don't necessarily post in that thread too often, but I love reading it and just seeing what everybody's playing and stuff like that, because I can't really post, because I can't say, guess what, guys, I'm playing this game, because I'm going to talk about it on the podcast.
Who will listen to the show at that point?
Right, if we say everything that we're doing in Slack or in the Guild, then no one will even tune in.
So yes, PAX Unplugged. I went on a tangent, which is a thing we do a lot. That's one of those conventions that we can just like hang out with pegheads, hang out with our friends. We don't take a lot of meetings, if any at all, and we just enjoy the area, and just like PAX Unplugged is starting to develop into like a real thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, last year was the second year we went, and it had grown exponentially from the first year we had went. But it is one of those cons that I don't feel pressure to do a lot of meetings and a lot of business, because Essen has just happened, and then so it's not that time, and so it really allows us to just relax and hang out with people, and that's why it's my favorite convention outside of Origins.
Oh, I didn't know that was your favorite convention.
And it may be in a future year, not this year, obviously, but one of the things that Tara and I have talked about is in an effort to maybe do some more conventions for me, other than just Origins, is if we can find some cool cities that we can sort of divide and conquer. And she really enjoys Philadelphia. So what we may be able to do is pull off her and I coming up to PAX next year, and her enjoying hanging out in Philly, and certainly coming. I think she would enjoy the low keyness of PAX as an initial. Well, I guess her first board game convention experience. But those are the things that we have to look for. Is will the city have some good antique shops or auction houses or some art galleries and some things like that she would enjoy. And clearly Philadelphia is going to do that.
Yeah, you're just going to have to make sure that you take a car or a vehicle that has a lot of space in it, so that Tara has a place to put all the things she has bought.
We will arriving in a U-Haul. Yeah.
I would love Tara to come to one of these conventions. I think it would be sort of an eye-opener. Like, what's Jeremy into? Like, I think this would be...
the main problem with me bringing Tara is if I'm with Tara, I'm suddenly a lot less interesting than I am already. So if people were to come up and talk to me and Tara, and they start talking to Tara, then I'm going to fade into the background, and I don't know that that either of us are ready for that. So people would love Tara if they got a chance to meet her.
I think you're just fine, Jeremy, with or without Tara.
Yeah,
I like you.
Your name's Jeremy. Why don't we talk about some other?
Thanks, Rob. You're always there for me to remind me what my name is. Thank you.
Why don't we talk? I have when someone sent us an email about a Kickstarter question.
Okay.
And I wanted to read it to you guys. I'm going to just read it from my phone real fast. But I thought I just want to kind of get your feedback if this is something that you'd be into. Also, if you're in the chat, what you think of it. This is from Bo Backen. I'm sorry, is that anything? Bo Backen.
Yep.
He wanted to put out this idea in regards to Kickstarter. Amidst even the smallest collection of euros, I have dozens of dice, armies of meeples, and armies of sheeples. I have enough cardboard coins in ones, fives, and tens to Scrooge McDuck swim through. In the hobby that often rewards efficiency, I assume a lot of others have a component redundancy problem. I don't expect to ever see a game on a store shelf without the necessary components, but crowdfunding campaigns should easily be able to offer some small price reduction with the subtract from. Am I right? Knock $5 off to remove coins, etc. Is this... It goes, am I on to something or am I on to something? So let's explore that real fast. That's a decent question. If a Kickstarter offered, let's say the new Gloomhaven, offered, hey, we'll reduce the price of this if we took out coins or we took out, I don't know, some type of components chits, would that be a thing that you're into? You know what? Before I went into that question, I would say yes, but then when I use Gloomhaven as an example, I immediately want to say no, because I want those. They just came out with these new coins that I've got coins, but I want Gloomhaven coins. So I don't know. That's an interesting question. What do you guys think?
No.
So let's say just any generic game where it was just all right, you get these coins, and every game has coins.
But are they generic coins in the game?
Sure, let's say they are.
I don't know what Bo is doing with his games. Is he just collecting extra?
No. What he's saying is that he has all these games that have all these.
Right.
Every game has, if it deals with money in some capacity.
Okay.
If it took out, he's got I've got games on these shelves. I'd say 40% of them have some sort of variant of a coin. If the Kickstarter offered a reduction in price, if you got this copy without a coin, would you take it?
I could see that working if you're manufacturing your own games and boxing them up at your house. But how do you do all of that and it be efficient?
Right. So Tim Vernick says the biggest issue is manufacturing boxes. Is that everything ahead of time? Trying to offer an a la carte is not that easy.
I didn't even see that.
Joanna says also resale would be tough. These are all good points.
And I would say from someone who's dealt with just sheer printing, if you had a manufacturing job that had, I don't know, 8-10 different variations of punch boards and whatever, your costs are going to either skyrocket or you're going to end up paying the same for less material, which is going to make it difficult to enter retail. I appreciate what he's saying, and it's an interesting idea. And maybe there may be an opportunity for, I don't know, a plug and play kind of game system where you played around with sets of components that you kickstarted a $15 box, and then you bought whatever components you didn't already have. There may be an interesting idea there, but for those of us, I think particularly who come at this from a collector's perspective, and also who are setting up these games, the difficulty of like dipping into, I gotta pull the coins from this other box and the meeples from this box and put it together and then da 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 da. Efficiency or not, it makes the setup a little tricky.
Jeremy, Christina has her finger up for 30 seconds.
Well, I can't see it, so she can wait.
Save it for the podcast!
But on the other hand, I say this as someone who does enjoy buying games. And so for someone who is coming at the hobby more price constrained or wanting to spend less money but still access the same kind of content, I can see the appeal of something like that.
Well, and what I was...
Go ahead, Christina, it's your turn.
Thank you. What I was going to say is that I think, and I don't know if this is accurate, but I think people like Kickstarter because they have the ability to get the deluxe version of a game. And people are getting the deluxe version of games to get those upgraded components. And so, and a lot of the components in games, money or meeples or whatever, go into the theme of the game. And so I wouldn't want to be playing a game where I'm using Monopoly money in my game.
Right.
Because, you know, so the best example I can think of is Sorcerer City. Those interlocking coins.
I want those.
Oh, those are amazing. I can't imagine.
Are they needed in the game? No, but I want them.
But I can't imagine playing that with just like generic cardboard coins and shit. So I think, yes, if we're thinking about, you know, being thoughtful to reducing stuff, just like things, which I think we should be, but it being cost effective for the industry, I don't think that's accurate.
Right. So Isaac, I got my finger up, Jeremy. Jeremy got a finger. I don't really have a finger up, but it's a mental finger. Look, not the finger. Isaac brings up a point that the cost associated with doing that kind of thing would be kind of hard because you'd have to produce a separate version of the game and you're trying to mass market a game, so that doesn't make it very cost efficient. He also says that cheap as games, the business model was that for a long time, and it did work for them. They didn't offer complete versions of the games until Dr. Lucky. So it works for some companies, but you have to kind of do that going into it. I kind of answered my question as soon as I said it.
Yeah, it points to I think that what we find value in the game is not just do all the pieces function adequately. You know, there's a lot more to it. It's one of the reasons I think that we talk about theme and setting and art and production when we discuss particularly our deep dive ratings, is because those are all valuable contributions to the experience of the game. Just, you know, beyond just, do you have a sufficient number of 1-point coins in the game?
You have a person walking around behind you.
That's not cool. That's not cool. That is, see, Christina and I just got out of an entire month of watching horror movies, so that is straight out of a horror movie. 7 days, Jeremy.
And if anybody's curious, this chair in the background right here is the one that spins by itself sometimes.
I don't think anybody in the thread knows what you're talking about. So we recently got rid of the majority of our furniture in our living room because of all the blood. Because of mostly the blood. But we inherited some from Christina's grandparents. Now, this is leather furniture that's been around since the 70s, so you know it has to be good. However, one of the chairs spins for no reason.
Yep.
Oh, there's a reason.
Is it spinning now because we haven't touched it for an hour?
No,
it's good.
Happy.
Okay.
It's happy where it's at.
If you start seeing it spin, please let us know. And call the police.
Let's see. I think one of the other things that people would find interesting is that we try to do, so the podcast, you know, especially now with the industry and the way things are changing and moving and happening, it's more difficult to stay as relevant as we can be with only doing audio. Right, so people...
Oh my God, where's this conversation going?
Did you just diss the show?
I feel like she's about ready to make an announcement, Jeremy.
No, I'm just saying, like...
Webcam.
No. Is that the industry is changing and what people are wanting is always shifting. And so I think we've done really well with staying as relevant as we can with only having an audio podcast, right? Like everyone's doing unboxings and video. Video's really big right now. Blogging's really big right now.
Are you about ready to make an announcement about Blue Pig, Pink Pig?
No, I'm just saying that we do our best to stay as relevant as we can with just having the audio podcast with our Slack channel, our BGG, our Twitter accounts. Just being connected to our listeners is what I think is what people find important, rather than, we're doing all of the things that we think we should be doing in the industry. Like, we're just doing us.
Yeah, we try to. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I was going to say, it does occur to me, though, that if we want to start like an audio unboxing where Rob opens a game and I narrate what's happening.
Oh, there's so many punch boards.
A play-by-play. Ooh, the light has come to Rob's eyes. Oh, no, he looks disappointed at the plastic insert, but I don't know. I see it's not a good idea.
Oh, glad we vetted it.
I just proved it's a terrible idea.
I would like to do, Christina makes a point. I would like to do some video stuff, but this face is made for a podcast. Quite honestly, I just don't have time to add another thing on there. If I do win the lottery, I will start doing videos. I don't know what those videos will be. Maybe they're about board games, maybe not. I don't know. But I just don't, I have a full-time job and a podcast. It's like 2 full-time jobs. So I don't have the time to do it. We've had offers for us to do Kickstarter previews and stuff like that, and some other things through video, but we just don't have time to do it. Also, we need to get cameras and lights, and there's a lot more that go into it. I got to do video editing.
Steve O'Rourke just recommended audio unboxing ASMR.
Wait a minute, how do you know that? Are you in the chat?
I'm on the chat.
Okay.
I know how these computer objects work.
Yeah, I think it's just, as people see the industry growing, people might be wondering why we're only sticking with our audio podcast. And I think it's because we're being authentic and genuine to what we do and what we do well, without trying to stretch ourselves too thin, because I think that's where you get to the point where it feels like a job and you don't want to do it anymore. And this is still fun for us. And putting pressure on ourselves to try to ante up, I think is unrealistic.
Yeah.
Well, the amount of feedback we get of folks who listen while they commute or listen while they're out driving during the day or flying airplanes or whatever they're doing.
Assassins.
Suggests there's still space for this. So flying space shuttles.
Another thing is, and this is one of the directions that we are hoping to accomplish, being the 3 of us. One of the things I'm really pushing is, what was that? What are you doing?
It's a triangle.
Are you okay? Again, a square supports a building better than a triangle. Is that?
Didn't we go through that? That's not a true statement.
It is. It is a straight up true statement. Yes, it is.
Did you see David Newman's article about the triangle?
I love David Newman, but he was wrong. But the thing is, you have to think about it as a base and not as a building. It doesn't matter. Anyway. One of the things, some of the feedback we have gotten throughout the past is that our episodes are too long. Secret Cabal, Brawling Brothers, us in the past have been 3+ hours long. A lot of people said they had to check out because it's just too long. So one of the things we want to try to keep it to is 90 minutes to 2 hours. Now, the past couple episodes, the past 3 or 4, since I've been doing the editing, it's been about 2 hours, 10 minutes, 2 hours, 30 minutes. We're going to try to keep it to about 2 hours so that you can consume us, in a reasonable amount of time.
I think that's important. And it sets us apart, too.
Well, there's a lot of podcasts out there.
That's the other thing, is there's so many. If you go to BGG and you put in podcasts and search them all alphabetically, thank goodness we're Blue Peg, Pink Peg, because we're kind of near the top.
That was by design, quite honestly.
That's what we've got going.
So, if you want to, this is something that we haven't talked about ever, so we can talk about it now in the last 5 minutes of this Hangout. when we were trying to think of a game, I remember it quite vividly. Patrick and I were sitting in his kitchen, and we were trying to think of a name, and we had like a lot of just like random stuff, like it was obnoxious. So I was like, well, alliteration is pretty important. He really wanted pink peg, blue peg, and I was just like, ooh, it's not fun to say. Plus, B is closer to the top of the alphabet, so blue peg, pink peg. It just sounds fun. And we kind of went back and forth about for a while. I wish I had some of the other names that we had come up with. Obnoxious. Also, Meeple was part of it. And now everything's named Meeple.
Yeah.
I'm glad we didn't go that route. But we did settle. We came to the kind of a like mind that blue peg, pink peg was what we wanted because it's fun to say. Plus, it's closer to the top of the alphabet. So that was by design.
Funny.
Well, there's a reason that a lot of companies are AAA towing or AAA.
Right. We were going to be Aardvark Gaming, but it just didn't make sense.
Right. It's a cool mascot, though.
Right. Another question that we get from time to time is about our mascot, the piranha pig.
Yes, and we've told this story multiple times.
We've told it like twice.
Oh, I feel like I tell it every time.
Is this at a convention? I mean, every time, every episode? What
Every
are you talking
time
about?
I see a person, I just tell them about it.
Is this like related to like, I'm bringing your mail? Have you heard about the mascot?
There's a lot of people in Roanoke that when they see Christina coming, they suddenly, pull a newspaper in front of their face or duck down an alley or jump under a car or something because they're tired of hearing about the piranha pig.
Yeah, the piranha pig.
A lot of people.
We don't have to talk about the piranha pig. I imagine everybody who's listening knows about the piranha pig.
I'm pretty sure everybody here has heard, and I think you can go back. It's early on in episode what? It was my hot seat episode.
And it was your hot seat, and it was early on, first 20. Right. But we talked about in episode 100. Like we revisited, like we had like a request of like, where does this come from? Why do you guys say this?
We should bring the hot seat back again. That was fun.
Do another round of hot seats.
Yeah. Look at Jeremy's face.
The hotter seat.
Hot and hotter.
We could do that, but then that would extend our episode longer than 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Well, we do a bonus episode of a hot
We do need some bonus episodes. So, yes, we could do. If you guys are interested in some more hot seats where we put each other under the hot seat, we can do that.
Well, and I think that's a good question for everyone listening is send us an idea of what you think would make good bonus episodes.
That's a good idea.
We haven't really put out many at all this year. I don't think.
We need to because it's a Patreon level that we need to hit. So let's do some bonus episodes.
Yeah, for sure. But I think
we owe some holiday fiasco.
Oh my God, holiday fiasco, like holiday road. Okay, anyway, we could do like a holiday fiasco. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Well, now Jeremy has like you've kind of we have to do it now.
I'll make it happen.
All right, good deal.
David Turner says more fiasco, please.
That would be fun.
All right.
We're all on the same page.
So, I guess we can kind of wrap this up. This was only going to be about an hour, and we're about at 60 minutes. So let's wrap it up. Is there anything you guys want to say to wrap it up at the end?
Yeah, I'd like to just put a plug into our Slack channel and our Redbubble store. It is getting to be the holidays, so if you are needing to get any Blue Peg, Pink Peg swag, go on over to our Redbubble store. We have t-shirts, which have multiple designs that you can then also put onto anything. A clock, a shower curtain, a throw pillow, a cell phone cover.
Why would you do that?
A laptop, iPad cover.
I mean, I appreciate.
Okay. You could have stickers.
Okay.
You could have a mini skirt or a bath mat. They have lots of things on Redbubble.
Is it Mad Bono? Wait. She says, wait, before we get into the ending, she says, yes, she likes the bonus hot seat episodes. Also, yes, for 90 minutes for sure. So if she likes it, we should probably do it.
That's fair.
Jeremy, you have anything you want to say in closing?
I actually want to do a quick shout out since we're doing behind the scenes stuff. I want to shout out to our friend of the show, Bernard, who keeps us supplied with cool stuff. And I say that in part because I've got an awesome clock on my wall that is the Cthulhu pig version of the piranha pig that he developed. And I have been informed that on the way to us are some t-shirts that he developed for my daughter's tabletop board game or tabletop role-playing group that meets at the school based on her Chihuahua barbarian character. And folks like Bernard and other listeners who are very generous with their creativity and their ideas.
Bernard's amazing.
We very much appreciate, and Bernard does an enormous amount of support for us and a bunch of other podcasts. And it's a very much behind the scenes stuff that he's kind of helping us develop ideas. A lot of the art that I think, for example, I think Christina, we're getting, if it's not all up there now, it will be up there soon. The art that he developed for the various Peghead shirts from Origins.
Yep. Also, is Gloom
should be available.
Is the Gloom Raven T-shirt on there?
Yes. Yes, it is. So
that shirt is amazing, by the way. So it's basically a picture of Isaac and Christine dancing, and on top of it, in the Gloomhaven font, thank you, Isaac, is Gloom Raven.
So if you don't get to hang out with Isaac a lot, you can get a shirt, and he will be with you forever.
Bernard, by accident, made a bunch of those shirts in glow in the dark, which I found out I was like walking in my closet in the middle of the night. I was like, "What is glowing?" And it was like Isaac's face, and I'm like, "You haunt me, Isaac." It was the Gloom Raven T-shirt.
Why don't we have a hoodie? Shouldn't we have a hoodie with Gloom Raven?
I feel like Isaac. I feel like since it's an Isaac shirt, like it should have a Gloom Raven hoodie. I'm gonna get that.
Yeah, so we do have a Redbubble store. It's up and active. We've had a lot of...
KY Mike didn't even know we had a Redbubble store.
Thanks, KY Mike.
Great. Thanks for listening, KY Mike.
I also think we should give a big thank you to all of the people who helped us get this up and running. We did reach out to a lot of other people to help us figure out the behind the scenes of putting this out on streaming. So just, you know who you are. Thank you very much.
I did ask, yeah, so Kimberly and Patrick Healer, I was like, hey, you guys do these things? And so they did point us in a direction, so a thank you for them. I have a couple things that I like to say at the closing. Again, thank you to our Patreon backers. Without you, we couldn't do these things. I know that kind of a lot of podcasts say that, but I really mean it. Like, there's a couple things that we had to purchase just to produce the podcast that we couldn't do without you guys. So thank you. You're amazing. If you have suggestions, if you have topics you want us to discuss for bonus episodes, please in the Patreon, let us know. We also run games. Recently, we gave away a copy of Abomination. Who won that one?
I don't know.
Brian, somebody in Canada won it. I can't remember your last name, Brian, but congratulations. Again, thank you to all the veterans out there. I know we talked about it on the top of the show, but thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for your service. Thank you for all you do. We couldn't have a board gaming podcast without you, so thank you. And thank you just to the Pegheads in general.
Yeah, we love you guys.
Like, we really do love you guys. You guys are super loyal. You let us know when we get out of line. You let us know if there's something that's not working for you. You let us know the things we do that you like. So thank you for all you guys. Anybody else?
If people want to interact with us on Twitter, where can they find us?
They can find us on all things. Facebook, Blue Peg, Pink Peg. Twitter, Blue Peg, Pink Peg. Instagram, which Christina, you need to post more, but Instagram, Blue Peg, Pink Peg. If you want to join our Slack channel, send us an email to bluepegpinkpeg@gmail.com. Jeremy has been diligently working on our website at bluepegpinkpeg.com. We've got some cool things coming. Sorry, Jeremy, I'm not sending them to the website yet, but we got some cool things coming with the website. So please stay tuned in regards to that. If you want us to send us an email, bluepegpinkpeg@gmail.com. I've already said. If you want to follow us on Twitter individually, Jeremy, you're at Pyranor. How do you spell that?
Pyranoir. We'll drop a link or something in here on the chat.
Christina, you're at
BPPP Piranha Pig.
And I'm of course, at Loud Blue Peg. So if you want to follow us at Twitter, follow us there. Hit us up. We try to get all the emails, all the messages. We try to get back. Sometimes it's a couple days, but we love interacting with you guys. So also at PAX Unplugged, we will be there. If you see us there, please stop by, say hello. We will chat. We'll have swag. We've got all kinds of swag. Plus, if we have time, maybe we'll play a game or have a beer.
That sounds awesome.
So, I think that is it for this evening. Thank you guys for joining us. If you came and watched this later on, thank you for doing so. And please hit us up in all the places.
Have some fun.
And play those games.
Nothing funny at the end.
Good night,
Night.
everybody.